Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today, The Secrets of Successful Ad Copy. Thanks for attending.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. I just want to kick everything off with a brief introduction so you can put a face to some of the voices you're hearing. My name is Erin Sagan, and I'm a Customer Success Specialist here at WordStream. I'm joined by Billy McCaffrey and Caleb Hutchings, who are also on my team. The three of us are AdWords and Bing Ads certified, and as you know, we worked with many of you guys. We work with a number of clients across major industries. So between the three of us, we have a fairly wide breadth of experience, and our clients range from $200 monthly spend to actually $96K monthly spend. So we have experience with all types of accounts, and we are more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have during the webinar. If you have any questions following the webinar, feel free to extend those to your customer success representative or to either or any of us, and our email addresses are listed down below. So here's a quick overview of today's agenda. We'll start by reviewing the importance of ad text optimization. Just a warning for those of you out there who are more advanced. This may kind of backtrack a little bit. It's a little bit rudimentary, but we really want to make sure that everybody is starting off on the same page and understanding why ad text is so important. Then Caleb will take us through tactics to building powerful ad copy, and Billy will show you guys how to test and optimize your ads moving forward. So before we jump into the bulk of the webinar, when we sent out our announcement, we asked you guys whether you thought PPC ad number 1 or number 2 would be more, get a better click-through rate and would be more impactful. All right, so let's start with the importance of ad text optimization. One of the most common issues we've seen in PPC accounts is just a general lack of attention to ad text. I can't tell you how many advertisers I see kind of set it and forget it. And for your PPC account to flourish, it's critical to keep an eye on this text. So before we delve into the intricacies of the copywriting, here's why it's so important to focus on your ad. Google is one of the world's, or is the world's, most popular search engine because users really trust that it delivers relevant results. To maintain this status, Google encourages advertisers to provide their searchers with relevant material. And as an incentive, Google rewards these relevant advertisers with high-quality scores. So check out this image over here on the right-hand side of the screen. As you can see, your ad copy can have an enormous impact on your quality scores. You have that bullet point for click-through rate as well as ad relevancy. So your goal is to try and create ads that are both relevant and compelling, which will lead to high click-through rates. As a result, you'll start to see that you're achieving better ad rank, lower cost per click, and more impression share. The AdWords auction, although it happens very quickly, certainly isn't magic. They use a very specific formula. So as you take a look at this infographic, you'll see Google bases your ad rank on a combination of both your quality score and your max CPC bid. This is really good news for those of you out there who are smaller advertisers. You may not always have the resources to match the bids of some of your bigger competitors, think like a Walmart or a Target. But if you take the time to really hone in on your account, you might be able to compensate for lower bids by focusing on achieving high quality scores. So you see with advertiser number 1, they're paying a significantly, or willing to pay a significantly lower bid, but because they have such high quality scores, they're able to achieve the highest ad rank. So now that you have a solid understanding of ad rank, I want to cover the other half of the auction. This is how Google decides how much to charge you for each click. The formula is pretty simple. Essentially, they're going to take the ad rank of the person below you, divide that by your quality score, and add a penny. As you can see, again, having that high quality score pays off. All right. So I thought this infographic was really impactful, and I wanted to share it with you guys because it demonstrates how detrimental a poor quality score can be. If you look down there at the bottom, a quality score of 1 can increase what you're paying by 400%. That's huge, especially for those of you who are really focused on your budget. If you aim for that higher quality score, you see the discount. Interesting to note, a 10 has the quality score, or the max bid discounted by 50%. But if you're down at 1, you increase by 400%. So not only is it important to shoot for those high quality scores, because it's a good demonstration of your relevancy, it's also critical because you will see your costs go up if you have low quality scores. All right. So organization has a huge impact on your performance. Developing a strong account structure right from the get-go is truly going to pay off in the long run. When you're building out an account, you want to start by conducting extensive keyword research. Rather than just opting for broad terms, really aim to incorporate specific mid-tail keywords. Next, you want to organize these keywords into small, tightly knit ad groups. And then finally, you can craft relevant ad text and set these ad texts with relevant landing pages, keeping those initial ad groups in mind. Check out this example down at the bottom. You'll see that the first ad group contains really generic clothing-related items. So we're forced to pair it with generic ad text. And quite frankly, if I was looking for something specific online, like a blouse or a dress, I don't think I would click on an ad that says buy clothing online. Over on the right-hand side, we have an ideal ad group. This is focused solely on something specific, jean shorts. So since you have this really specific ad group, you have the opportunity to create a highly relevant text ad and send people right to a page full of jean shorts, giving them exactly what they're looking for, where they'll be more relevant to convert from.
These are great points, and I also have one more to add here. I kind of feel like from a personal experience, sometimes as you're building out your accounts and you're going through this process, it can get really overwhelming. And at the end, when you finally start thinking about your ads and ad text, you can kind of be exhausted. I know when I first started with PPC in my own personal work, I would create something quickly after doing all my keyword research and setting up the entire account, and kind of think that I would go back and edit it down the road and improve it later. If you start feeling like that, I encourage you to kind of push back and really push through that feeling and focus on your ad text and use some of these tactics that we're going to get into to really improve it from the start.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. If you guys have ever worked with Bing, you may remember Bing encourages you to write your ad text before you develop the keywords in your ad group. And I don't know that that's a strategy that you always need to employ, but they are on to something there. Having good ad text and focusing on ad text from the get-go is incredibly important. So I've mentioned a lot about the importance of click-through rate. So I'm sure all of you guys are wondering, what is an ideal click-through rate? And this is a question as customer success reps we hear all the time. So Google is assessing your click-through rate based on your average position. So think of it this way. If you're always showing up in position number 1, you're inevitably going to get more clicks than the ads that are dwelling down at the bottom of the page. Google isn't going to penalize you if you're down at the bottom of the page and you don't have a super high click-through rate. They recognize that you're inevitably going to get more from the top position. So since not all positions are created equally, here are some good click-through rate targets based on ad positions. And these are kind of ballpark. They're definitely not something that is going to cross every industry. But this will give you a good idea of what you can expect to see. So Google will consider your click-through rate to be good if you're in position number 1 and are scoring somewhere around a 6%. As you go down the line, you see that the expected click-through rate decreases. And for ads at position 5 or below, Google will expect you to get less than or equal to a 1% click-through rate. So take a look at your account. As you start to look at your click-through rates, pull in that column for positions, and really make sure you're looking at those two metrics in conjunction to one another, not, not just solely looking at click-through rate without thinking about the position. All right, so I'm going to turn things over to Caleb now, and he's going to start showing you guys how to create some powerful text tabs.
Great, thank you, Erin. So now that we've really identified our destination of improving our quality score and click-through rates of these ads, let's explore the tactics that we're going to use to accomplish this. So where do you get started? You want to really begin with the fundamentals, just as you would if you're kind of gauging the core aspects of your business. So first, consider your offer. What are the features? What are the corresponding benefits of your product and service? What essentially makes your product great? And then, of course, your unique selling point. What are the unique benefits that set you apart from your competition? Essentially, why would searchers choose you? These are, of course, the fundamentals of your organization, but really clarifying and spending some time with these kind of values will greatly benefit your ad creation process. So here are a few quick questions to begin that task of really figuring out those benefits from a consumer's perspective. So let's take a second here to stop and consider these questions and really apply them to your specific business. If you happen to be taking notes or have a pen and paper nearby, I would definitely jot down some of your immediate responses to this and then maybe develop it a little bit further after this webinar. So start with what is your #1 question about blank? Essentially insert your product or service there, or maybe even a general industry topic that you're trying to address. So think through their eyes what people would be asking immediately as their top question, or what caused them to look for something today. How are they arriving at your ad? If you're answering a question or providing value within the ad copy of the advertisement that you're displaying for their search, this could be a highly valuable thing that will help improve your click-through rate. And then likewise, what would you like us to help you with today? Of course, that's one that your business is always trying to address, but if you can answer that question within the ad text, it would be of huge value to your searchers. So the creative process. The most effective ads actually consist of 3 components. They'll tell the features, sell the benefits, and include a call to action. These to create these individual components and really fashion them into a whole gripping ad message, there's kind of a general creative process that you can use to explore this copy. So first, of course, brainstorming your content. This is where your expertise and knowledge of your product comes in handy. List the benefits to the users. Really consider the language used by your customer and imagine what they would search for if they were in your shoes or if you were in their shoes and using a search engine to kind of find a product or explore a service. You can also use tools within WordStream to research related keywords or even spy on your competitors' websites to see what keywords they've included in their strategy. You also want to create more content than you need. This sounds kind of counterintuitive as you're first starting out. You might want to keep things simple, but if you do this with kind of from the get-go, beyond getting your kind of creative juices flowing for the ad copy, you never really know what message might resonate with customers. So this helps you really explore and broaden the scope of your initial creative process and consider all the prospects that might be out there. And down the road, this can really become valuable. It also might kind of turn over some concepts that can evolve over time. So maybe immediately as you're starting your campaigns, building out your account, they're not immediately relevant. Down the road, you might see these kind of circle into your business model, or perhaps your business evolves with PPC over time, and they'll start to become relevant. And then, of course, you're going to start designing and writing the ads. And this is essentially piecing components of your research together, composing the keywords and crafting the language you've discovered around the products that you offer and directing it to customers who are searching for you. And we have a tool here. It's a pretty kind of broad tool, but the feature benefit matrix will really help you add some structure to this creative process. So let's explore that just for a second now. So here's the actual framework of the feature benefit matrix here. You can see that you can easily implement this in Excel spreadsheet if you prefer, but even if you have that said notebook or taking notes down here, this is an easy thing to kind of draw out. So the first column, we actually have the feature. Of course, the next columns highlight the benefits, and we recommend, in this particular example, having around 3 of those benefits. And the last one's the call to action list. So let's go through 2 examples here. The first one we have for a feature of your product, perhaps you do free shipping. An easy, immediate benefit would be saving money. You're, of course, saving costs to start out with. A second one would be what you see is what you pay. And what I mean by that is that there are no really hidden costs. How good does it feel when you go to a website and you see a product that you want to get, it's in your budget, and you're able to purchase it there, and you don't have to pay any additional costs. So that actually is a benefit of having free shipping, and you can incorporate that into your ad text. The last one is, I alluded to a little bit, same budget. Now this is kind of related to the benefit A, the first one that we had there, but it's distinct enough that you can include some phrases or copy that might be a little bit unique and have an extra gripping pull to someone. So you're basically aiding someone to stay within what's reach of them and offering them that product. The second example we have here is actually from REI. So you might know them as kind of the outdoor apparel stores that are throughout the country. They started a PPC campaign with an extra bonus that was free expert travel advice. So the benefit A to this is actually that bonus to your purchase. You're receiving something extra just beyond the product you're purchasing. The second would be confidence. They're offering you advice here to further inform your decision, so you can be confident with the choice that you're making and the product you're going with. And the final one here is a greater experience. This is huge. So just with this extra bonus offer of theirs, they're offering you access to an expert to give you free advice that would essentially make your experience with their brand and whatever activity you're doing even greater. So huge gripping pull to this, and I think we have the calls to action to reflect these. The first one being for the free shipping, buy today and save. A pretty kind of standard one here, but with the feature that we're offering, it's highly relevant. The second would actually be like discover your adventure or explore the opportunity or something along that the lines there. You're clearly appealing to an outdoor adventurous group here. So having some of these calls to actions that coincide with the feature, highly, highly relevant, and should improve your click-through rate. So now we can go into some of the creative and technical tactics. So the first one we have here is the point of driving personal context. You want to use you and your, just so the searcher kind of imagines themselves kind of within the text or the idea that you're proposing there within your ad copy. So it's pretty straightforward. You're just driving that personal context. The next is don't deceive. Authenticity is really key here. You don't want to mislead people. I have a quick image of, we have the theme of Arrested Development for this presentation here. Perhaps you're familiar with the show. There's a lot of content to work from that show, so we included here. This character here, Buster, for a few series, actually pretends that he's in the Army. He's pretending to be in the National Guard, but happens to scrap together a few missing pieces of military uniform here. Clearly not an authentic soldier. And we thought this would be a good example because when you try to fake it, everyone knows it, and everybody can clearly see it. So if you're having an ad that promises something, direct them to a landing page that they don't think is real, don't think is authentic, or have much trust in your brand, it can really damage and hurt your performance. So steer clear of that. And the next one would be to include provocative language. This isn't something that makes your grandmother break out that bar of soap. We're referring to more things that are kind of relative but stop people dead in their tracks. So like email is not dead, or stop wasting time. These are really imperative statements that really grab attention and pull people in. Next would be to ask questions. This one has a lot of benefits. The most obvious being that it grabs attention. So if people are kind of searching, you might raise a question that they initially didn't consider. And if you have that included in their ad text, that can lead them to kind of find out that answer and lead them to your website. So incredible thing to include within your ad copy. Next, empowering their research. It's kind of related, but perhaps they know what question they have. They're searching for information, searching for an answer. Empower them by including perhaps that question and alluding to the fact that you're going to answer that within your landing page. The next gets a little bit more advantageous. It actually pre-qualifies your prospects. If you're putting out a question and they're answering no, you're steering away people who aren't relevant to your business, and you're actually saving costs since they're not clicking on your ad. So think about what questions you might include in your ad copy that can aid you in this process. And the last is a little bit kind of a unique perspective on this. It can catalyze a conversion. So this is an old sales trick. I'm sure many of you have actually heard of this, but when you're dealing with clients, having these conversations, trying to bring them on board, you might have heard that if you get them agreeing with you, they're far more likely, and this is scientifically proven, that they're far more likely to purchase from you or agree to a deal if you get them agreeing with you throughout the process. So you can leverage your ad text in this way. I have a few examples down below. If you're asking them if they need a real website or want better PPC ads to increase their click-through rates, if they're seeing that ad and answering yes, you already have them agreeing with you. And if you have them, if you continue that and get them agreeing with you on your landing page, then you are probably increasing the probability that they convert. Next would be take full advantage of the display URL. This is a very valuable piece of copy that you can use to your advantage. It's important to note it has to have the same domain as the destination URL, but besides that, you can really make it what you want it to be. It doesn't influence the forwarding link, which is a question we get quite often, so keep that in mind. I use the example here of our local Boston.com. If you saw Boston.com in an ad, it might turn kind of people away because they thought they might just be directed to a home page, and it would convey that they would have to do a little extra work to find what they're looking for. Here we can see that if you include in the ad copy /news, /deals, or even more specific like neighborhood, your town, which is a section on their site, it would greatly improve the click-through rate.
Yeah, just to add something in here, I know a lot of my customers are always looking for ways to incorporate their top keywords into the ad text. If you're trying to figure out a way to kind of throw in a few more keywords, try putting it behind that display URL. That's a great way to kind of improve the relevancy of the ad and show Google that you really do have a high keyword density in there.
Definitely. You can also use active verbs. So think of it as the searcher is basically entering a query with the idea that they want to do something. So imagine they're thinking to themselves, I want to increase revenue or improve my service, or perhaps they're trying to experience something. These are all things that you can include in your ads to get them kind of in that frame of mind and essentially answer the question that they have in the back of their head. So looking at the two ads down below, you can see the first one's a bit more of a factual statement. They're saying virtual memory repair. That's essentially what they do. Okay, great. But look at the next one. The headline is increase virtual memory. If the searcher was looking to improve their virtual memory, that's a very gripping ad, and it immediately kind of sinks to that question of what they want to do. So it's far more gripping, and actually increase the click-through rate by twice. It actually doubled it there. So think of that. Include active verbs where you can. You can also include an unexpected call to action. So we talked about savings earlier. Perhaps show them what they can save. It goes to the concept of show rather than tell. If there's an opportunity where you can really demonstrate what you have to offer in very specific terms, go with that. Don't kind of be elude or be vague. You can also include a kind of pull it to instant gratification. So maybe chat with our support or chat with an agent immediately, or perhaps a bonus offer. We alluded to this one with REI, with the expert travel advice. So consider that and include that in your ads if you have the capability to do so. Don't repeat yourself. This is a big one. Space is limited. You know this, of course, very well. But we can look at the example below. Actually, in their headline, they include their domain name, and then down right underneath, they have the URL. It's very redundant, and it's wasting space when they already have that included in their ad. You can use the headline for some of these more gripping polls that would be far more relevant for you that we've just discussed in some of the last slides. We have a few technical tactics. So incorporating a high volume keyword in the headline will help greatly. When a query comes in and it perhaps uses that the keyword that you're bidding on, it will actually be bold in the headline. So it will further distinguish your ad on the search engine results page. So you definitely want to include that. Using symbols will also help. You include trademark symbols, copyright symbols. They can really differentiate you on the page according to like different brands and make you look more authentic and trustworthy. But also be careful. You don't want to add too many here. It can get your ad disapproved. So use them sparingly and always keep that in mind. As well as title case. It's statistically proven that you have a higher click-through rate if you incorporate title case, so capitalize the first letter of each word. And you can also punctuate the end of line 1. So here we have an example of an ad without the punctuation at the end of line 1. Pretty basic, pretty standard, and mind you, this is the top of page presentation. The next one that we have is one with punctuation at the end of line 1. You can see that it pulls line 1 right up into the headline. So this benefits you through some of the few things that I mentioned just in the last one. It gives you better real estate on the page. It makes your ad a bit larger. But when you're incorporating those keywords into your ad text, and if they match the query that someone's searching for, those are going to be bold in this line here. So once again, distinguish you a bit more. It's just a greater real estate, greater presentation on the page.
Yeah, one thing to point out here, by throwing punctuation at the end of line 1, you're making yourself eligible for Google to create this mega headline. You may not always see it. Google is constantly experimenting with new ad formats. So don't be surprised if you have that punctuation there and you're still seeing line 1 displayed underneath the headline. It's going to be situational, but do try and incorporate that punctuation so you're eligible for it, because we see, surprisingly, it makes a huge difference in your click-through rate.
Great point. I also want to highlight that these practices are also within the software. So when you're building out your ads, just be sure to perform this kind of check and then recheck, just to make sure you're copying or completing all of the suggestions available for you.
I did want to throw out there, we did get a question about the punctuation at the end of the ad text, so one of the recommendations here. But some of what punctuations can be used. So use a period, use an exclamation point, or question mark. Unfortunately, a comma won't do the trick. You need to end the sentence. And
keep in mind that we'll get to this shortly too, but you can only use one exclamation point per ad. So we'll cover that again, but I just want to, since we're on the topic, just highlight that.
Oh, someone, you know what, I'll have to check my sources on this, because someone said that you can't use an exclamation point at the end of line 1 for the mega headline. So I wasn't aware of that, but I can certainly look into it and we'll get you guys an answer.
All right, we do have a few mobile ad best practices. Also in the software, you can see that there's a preference for the device, so you can select ads to be or to cater to mobile. I do want to highlight that there are only like a few WordStream users that have made the transition to enhanced campaigns and selected mobile preferred ads. It's growing, but check your accounts and make sure if you have the selection. I do want to highlight, you don't want all your ads to be mobile preferred. You maybe want 1 or 2. And that basically tells the software and translates to your accounts that if a person's searching on a mobile device, this will display this ad. And that's why you don't want them on all of your ads. And it's actually for these reasons. So for mobile devices, you want to have a unique call to action. You're catering it to the device. So particularly things like call now, or you're showing them that they have access to your product or service at their fingertips. So incorporating copy like that into the headline or into the copy there is going to help you greatly, and that's why you want to specify which of your ads are the mobile preferred. And you can also direct them to a mobile optimized page If you don't happen to have one, check out howtogomo.com, and you can actually use Google services to kind of build a mobile page for the meantime.
Yeah, this is a really cool service. I definitely encourage you guys to check this out. It was backed by a Google initiative, which enables them to give you access to this for free for a year. So we all know it's important to create mobile landing pages. It's going to become increasingly important with enhanced campaigns and just the prevalence of mobile. But if you don't have the time or the resources to build a strong mobile landing page now, this is a great thing to use until you can build that page. So a great temporary solution.
Definitely. All right, and then we have dynamic keyword insertion. This allows you to dynamically insert a keyword from your ad group into your ad text. So the headline, but even the line descriptions as well. So we have a kind of an example here. I do want to highlight that it's pulling the keywords from your ad group. So the keywords that you're bidding on. It's not the actual queries that people are searching with. So you can get very specific, but just keep that in mind. That's the keywords. And you want to kind of gauge length of the keywords that you're bidding on so it doesn't go over your max character limits. And you can see in the bottom here, by specifying the code that's actually included, you can see highlighted within the headline itself. If you spell the keyword in that code in certain ways, it will actually represent the title cases or the spelling of your kind of keyword that you're using. So you can see the examples down below with leather couches uncapitalized to the first letters or even kind of all the keywords there. So very important to keep in mind.
All right, guys, Billy here. I'd like to take over for a couple of minutes just to talk about testing and optimizing your ads. So now that you know what goes into making a great ad, you may be wondering what to do next. You've identified a value proposition for your business. You have one or maybe even two strong calls to action in mind, and you have appealing creative text that is sure to capture the attention of your searchers. The question now, though, is where to go from here. So with that in mind, I'd like to share some action items that you can take towards your ads to ensure that your ads are working for you. So Google best practices dictates that you want to have between 2 to 4 ads maximum per ad group. This way you'll be able to test out different types of ads and see which types generate high levels of results. You may have heard of the sales tactic ABC, always be closing. Well, in paid search, there's a different tactic, always be testing. The reason that you want to have 2 to 4 ads per ad group for testing is that different text language, different calls to action, and different value propositions can all appeal to people in different ways. And you want to be sure that you're capturing the attention of all of those people and attracting as many prospects as possible. And in addition to potentially drawing in a larger audience, Google is going to reward the ads that have been optimized properly with a higher quality score. With 2 to 4 ads to play around with, you'll be able to experiment with inserting different keywords from your ad groups into the ad text as well. Maybe for example, if you have multiple calls to action for your business, you could think about dedicating ads to each of those and testing that call to action. You can then determine from looking at data which of those calls to action yields better results. Now you may be wondering, why 2 to 4 ads maximum? Why not more? The reason for this is that you want to be testing your ads as often as possible, but if you're testing too many at the same time, it's going to take longer than you want to collect that significant performance data to be able to analyze your ads. Each ad will have to run for a lot longer before you can generate that performance data. So with 2 to 4 ads, you not only have a number of ads that's easy to manage, but those ads will not take as long to generate that performance data. It's strongly recommended to have your conversion tracking enabled to help improve the depth of your performance data. This is something that's often overlooked by our clients, and we can't stress it enough. Not only with your ad text, but with just your data analysis in general, having that conversion tracking enabled is going to be huge. While impressions, clicks, and click-through rate are really valuable statistics, conversions are a more true indication of whether or not your company is bringing in the business. So with your conversion tracking enabled, you'll be able to monitor which text ads are driving the most conversions, like I said, making your analysis even more valuable. As you let your ads run and begin to generate performance data, it's recommended to focus on which ads are converting the most and adjusting the remaining ads to conform more to the successful one. But you may get to a point that you've been running an ad for a while, you've been making adjustments, and it's really just not working, so you might need to throw up the white flag and just go ahead and pause that ad.
Yeah, I do want to just kind of piggyback on that. We just got a question saying, with testing your ads, what is the best practice for dealing with those low-performing ads? Do you change them, do you delete them, or do you pause them? And Billy mentioned something important. Pausing your ad is the best way to maintain that information so you can go back and look at it over time. If you delete them, you can't look back at it, and if you change it, and actually Google will consider it a brand new ad, so you do lose the data. So when in doubt, pause, but if you have any questions, reach out to your CS rep.
All right, so once you have that good rotation of 2 to 4 well-built ads, it's time to think about your ad rotation and your ad delivery settings. These two settings can have an impact on both the frequency that your ads are shown and how they're shown in the search results pages. The ad rotation settings will determine how Google will serve your ads, and there are 3 different settings you can choose from. The first setting is rotate, in which Google will rotate your ads evenly until you specify otherwise. So your ads will have an equal chance to run as evenly as possible. This setting can be really effective for the purposes of testing. If you have a set of brand new ads that you're rolling out, you might want to just set them to rotate so that they can have an equal chance of generating that performance data that is so precious. The next option is optimize, in which Google will run the ads evenly only for a period of time. And during this period of time, the ads will collect click data, and then as some of your ads begin to generate higher click and click-through rate data, Google is going to start to automatically run those ads more frequently. They do this because the ads that are more successful in terms of clicks and click-through rate are going to give you the best chance at driving traffic to your website. And the last option is conversion optimize, which is similar in concept to that optimize setting that we just discussed. The ads will run evenly for a period of time, collecting data, but this time the focus is on conversions. So the ads that are generating more conversions and have a better conversion rate are going to run more frequently. Something to keep in mind with this, though, is that the ads need to generate at least 15 conversions before Google will start to adjust the frequency of running those ads.
We did have a question asking where people can find this setting. You can find it on your campaign level settings in WordStream. And if you need any help finding it, just let us know. It's on the individual campaign level, not on the ad group level. So just be sure to check that there.
All right, so next up is your ad delivery settings. And these settings will determine how quickly throughout the day your ads will be served by Google. And there are 2 different settings you can choose from. The first setting is accelerated, in which Google is going to run your ads more frequently throughout the day until your daily budget is exhausted. So while you'll have a much higher chance of reaching your daily budget more consistently, your ads also run the risk of not being seen during afternoon or even evening hours because that daily budget has been exhausted. The second setting is standard, in which Google is going to run your ads a little bit more evenly throughout the day so that you have a chance at your ads being seen during those afternoon and evening hours. So while your ads may run more evenly throughout the day, there's a chance you might not hit your daily budget on a consistent basis. Depending on your business goals, you'll want to carefully decide which of these settings is best for you. And just something to keep in mind is that the ad rotation and delivery settings are made on the campaign level. So whatever settings you choose, all of the ads in that campaign will run under those settings. So creating great text ads is easy, but as you're working, it's also easy to make some of these common mistakes that we'll point out to you right now. The first would be excessive capitalization. We've driven this point home earlier. While it's good to capitalize the first letter of each word, too much capitalization can get your ads disapproved by Google. You know, if you have, like you can see in this example, if you have entire words that are capitalized, it might look a little spammy in Google's eyes, so they might slap you with a little bit of a disapproval on that. Next up is using different display and destination URLs. This is also something that Caleb touched on earlier. Another way to get your ad disapproved is using different domain names for your display and your destination URL. As we've mentioned earlier, as long as those domains match, you have the rest of that line for the display URL to insert a high-performing keyword. So as long as you have that domain in there, the rest of the line is yours to play around with it. This also goes back to Caleb's earlier point about authenticity. You want to make sure that your ads are genuine and not deceptive. So this is really big in Google's eyes, maintaining those same two domains. So another common mistake is including the phone number in the ad text. And actually, as of April of this year, this wasn't a mistake, but Google's actually changing its best practices in April so that it disapproves any ads that actually contain the phone number in the ad text, as you can see there in the ad on the left. What they're doing now is encouraging advertisers to utilize the call extensions, which you can actually see on the right. So it's really, really good to have those call extensions enabled, because if you look back to the ad on the left, that phone number is actually taking up most of the space in that second description line. So by removing that phone number from the text and including it in the call extension, you're freeing up that second description line to play around with and hopefully insert top-performing keywords to strengthen your ad that much more.
Oh, we did have one question. Back to the display versus actual URL. Someone said, does that domain need to exist? Yes, because the domain of the display and the destination URL need to be identical. So the display URL must exist because you definitely want your destination URL to go somewhere.
Well, I do want to highlight, the question might be, does the URL have to exist rather than the domain? The domain has to exist. So looking at our presentation, the flowershop.com has to exist. Flowershop.com/roses doesn't necessarily. So the URL doesn't have to exist specifically, but the domain certainly.
And then someone also asked whether Google charges for call extensions. It's dependent on whether you've moved over from legacy campaigns to enhanced campaigns. We can touch on that more at the end of the call. Webinar.
Thank you, guys. So our last common mistake here is excessive punctuation. We've also touched on this as well. As you can see in this ad here, there's exclamation points strewn about the ad, which is definitely no good in Google's eyes. So you want to try and have unique punctuation marks throughout the ad. And like we mentioned before, we'll definitely verify our sources on using the exclamation point in that first line.
I think to a quick point of that, I think the reason why that would not be allowed is because that first line, if it does have punctuation at the end, can get pulled up into the headline. And the headline is where you can't have the exclamation. So I think that's very correct, and that's why you might not want to end the first line with the exclamation, because it has the potential to go up in the headline, so that would be disproved in that sense.
All right, so my mistake, this is actually our last common mistake here. The last one would be mentioning a competitor's brand name when you're making a claim in your ads. And by that, I mean you can't include the brand name of your competitors in your ad text, especially when making some type of claim about your own business. So as you can see in the ad here, the flower store is claiming that they have lower prices than Flowers R Us, and that's definitely sure to get your ad disapproved. So you want to be sure to not include any of those competitor brand names in your ad. So one last thing I want everybody to keep in mind when you're testing your ads is that you want to make sure that the differences between your ads are small and easy to measure. The goal of split testing is to be able to easily identify which of those test variables are leading to success or not. If you have ads that are drastically different from one another, it's going to be tough to determine the winning or the losing variable between those ads. You want to make the differences between your ads small. So for example, you might want to try 2 different headlines and see which is more compelling. Maybe try 2 different calls to action. Or as you can see in the example here, we've tested out 2 different keywords in that display URL to see which of those might be more compelling. So as with any change in paid search, you want those changes to be small and incremental.
All right. So now that you guys have gotten an earful on ad tests, I do want to jump back to our original question. Which ad are you guys sold on? And actually, you guys did a pretty good job. 17% of our attendees voted for ad number 1, and 79% voted for ad number 2. So the winner is actually correct. It's ad number 2. Here's a couple of reasons why we think this ad performed better. It uses title case, it has engaging call to action, and utilizes that kind of trick technique of dynamic text insertion. And then finally, it utilizes punctuation throughout the text. The losing ad incorporates, it does have a descriptive display URL. It does have a high volume keyword in the headline. The phone number is in the ad text, which is the real issue here. And it does use title case, which is great. Somebody picked up on it right off the bat. You can no longer have the phone number in that ad text, so it wouldn't even make it on the page. It would be disapproved.
To Billy's earlier point, though, this is great to start using call extensions, not only for the tracking, but so you have more allowance for your copy within that ad. And the other thing I just want to highlight just briefly, on the end of that display URL, you can actually see in PPC ad number 2, they actually incorporate the title case into the display URL. So, I mean, if you just kind of think of the concept of URLs that you see in your browser constantly, you never really see title case represented. This is just another way of thinking of that space purely as ad copy.
So congratulations to everybody out there who picked display ad number 2, or ad number 2. And hopefully for those of you who picked number 1, you can now see why number 2 is the winner. We're going to move on to a question section. Really hope we have some fans of Arrested Development out there. I think we have quite a few images in here. Hope you guys enjoyed that. So far, we did get one really good question. Can you please re-explain dynamic keyword insertion? So we'll start with that, and then as other questions trickle in, we'll try and address as many as we can in the time allotted.
So that's a great question. We get it often. It is a bit more of an advanced technique. So the concept is this, is that you want to be as relevant as possible to the people that are searching for your product. That's where we kind of start out with. So how do you get more relevant? So you're bidding on keywords that are relevant to what they might search in their query. The use of dynamic keyword insertion actually takes that keyword or keywords in your ad group and inserts that into your ad. So you actually put that formula within your ad copy, and it pulls from the keywords in that specific ad group that match the query to insert it into the ad. That's how that actually works. So you really want to keep it, you want to really think about what ads you're including, your keywords that you're including in that ad group, so that they're not over the length kind of allowed in there. But in case that they are, you can also specify within the code, you can put a kind of generic keyword. So if the keyword that's kind of matched to order insert is too long, it will display that kind of default keyword that you specify in that code. So that's kind of the concept. It's basically taking the keyword from your ad group, inserting it into your ad based on whatever somebody searched to make your ad more relevant to that person.
And piggybacking on that, someone said, is it better to use dynamic keyword insertion or multiple ads? Personally, I think that's a question you want to reach out to your CS rep and really look at your account to make that determination. Some situations, dynamic keyword insertion works like magic. Other situations, it may not actually be a good fit. Somebody else asked, is there a list of special characters that are disallowed by Google? We recommend going to Google's Policy Center to learn more about their list of things that will get your ad disapproved. It is constantly changing. So anytime that you think that you may be adding something that's not 100% kosher, reach out to Google or check that Policy Center.
And sometimes it's not only about just what symbols they are, it's how the manner that you put them in. So repetition or just overuse comes down to really where Google has a problem with it. So there are specific characters I'm sure you can't use, but it kind of has to do more with how you use them.
Okay. Another question, with the recent explosion of Bing commercials for search, have you noticed any market share being lost from Google to Bing? That's a great question. I know that in the past, in the United States, Google had about 70%, or was the most popular browser by about 70% of people, and 30% of users were more inclined to use Bing. Saw it a lot with government computers, also older population using Bing. With the explosion of Bing ads, I don't know if the market share has changed, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And we're running a special Bing promotion for those of you who are not yet using Bing. So if you're interested in maybe exploring those options, reach out to your customer success rep. Another question I'd like to get your guys' take on. Someone said, are people actually buying things from their mobile phone, or is it just really assisting people in learning more about your product?
That's a great question. There's actually a statistic I came across a few weeks ago that a lot of people who actually search for the product and click on the ads and do some of that research actually make the purchase from a desktop device or even a tablet device. So it's a great point. I would really consider the aspect of your business, and if you provide a service or a product that might be more relevant to someone kind of on the go or in a general area. But you're right. In a lot of ways, people certainly do purchase from mobile phones, but a lot of times people can kind of just trying to be informing their decision and kind of broadening their scope of the understanding the product that they're looking for, and then make that purchase actually on a desktop later.
Yeah, I think kind of the beauty of the mobile devices is for getting that information as fast as possible. You know, when people are on the go and they're looking for, you know, maybe a coffee shop nearby, and they see, based on their mobile search, that there's a coffee shop, you know, right around the corner. That's really the power of the mobile devices. And going back to the call extensions a little bit, if you have those enabled, that's when the mobile devices are going to be even more powerful for just ease of contact, for getting in touch with the business faster. That's where you're really going to see where the mobile devices come in handy.
All right, so thank you guys for attending the webinar. Hopefully you learned a lot, and this is just a jumping off point. We're happy to talk to you more about ad tech in the future. So reach out to your customer success rep if there's anything else you want to work on.